All right, so today we're really going to get into Mel Robbins' the 5-second rule.
Okay.
It's a big one, right? Unlocking that everyday courage, getting to those goals that,
Yeah.
those goals that we maybe put aside.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got so much to go through.
We do.
We've got all the notes and articles and everything right here.
Yeah. It's a really interesting book.
Yeah.
And it's it's one of those where you kind of go, like, wait, I can actually use this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's practical.
Yeah, and it's not too out there.
Right.
It's something that I think will resonate with a lot of people.
And I think one of the things that really struck me about it is that she took something like a countdown
Yeah.
and like tied it into real science.
Right.
So it's not just like, oh, this is motivational fluff.
Mm-hmm.
This is like digging into how our brains work
Yeah.
and kind of giving us a framework for hacking our own hesitation.
Yeah. And it all comes back to this origin story for her,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Which is actually super relatable, I think, for a lot of people. She was feeling stuck,
Yeah.
just like I think a lot of us feel sometimes,
Yeah.
hitting snooze on life, hitting snooze on the alarm,
Mm-hmm.
and
In a rut.
yeah, totally in a rut.
Like, we've all got that project
Oh, yeah,
on our to-do list
for sure.
that's just been sitting there for way too long.
Yeah, and then she sees this commercial, right, for a rocket launch.
Right. A rocket launch.
And it's got that classic countdown.
Classic countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it sparked this primal urge
Yeah.
for her to get out of bed.
Get out of bed. And I love that she talks about how
Yeah.
it was almost like this physical reaction.
Yeah.
Like she had to move.
Yeah.
She almost like launched herself out of bed.
It's like the opposite of hitting the snooze button.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's that voice in her head saying like, oh, 5 more minutes.
Right.
Or 10 more minutes.
But the countdown kind of short-circuited that overthinking.
Yeah, but is there a danger in always acting without thinking things through, though?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think the key here is understanding that what she's tapping into is not about like being reckless.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing that oftentimes our initial instinct
Okay.
is actually aligned with what we truly want.
Uh-huh.
It's that split second before our doubts and fears kick in
Right.
and talk us out of it.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
How many times have you had like a gut feeling to do something,
Oh, all the time.
but then you hesitated
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you later regretted not going for it?
100%.
I think we've all been there.
Oh, yeah. I think a big one for me was like
Yeah.
that time I almost didn't submit my work for a competition
Oh, wow.
because I thought it wasn't good enough. And then I'm like, wait,
Yeah,
what if it is?
Exactly. And she provides the science to back this up.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown,
Uh-huh.
it's not just some like random thing she came up with.
Right.
It's actually a trigger
Okay.
for your prefrontal cortex,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which is the part of your brain
Yeah.
responsible for decision-making and focus.
Right.
So by using the countdown,
Okay.
you're essentially interrupting the habit loop
Mm-hmm.
of hesitation
Yeah.
and giving your prefrontal cortex a chance to take the wheel.
So it's not just like willpower.
Yeah.
It's really understanding.
It's about the neurology
Yeah.
behind why we hesitate
Yeah.
and using this tool to shift our brain's activity.
Okay, so this is getting really interesting because then she also talks about her husband
Right.
using this rule.
Mm-hmm. To overcome some negativity about his past business ventures.
Oh, yeah. So he was kind of stuck in that cycle.
He was in a cycle of self-blame and doubt,
Yeah.
which was preventing him from moving forward.
So how did the 5-second rule help him reframe those experiences?
So it's not about erasing negative feelings altogether.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing those feelings
Yeah.
and using the 5-second rule to shift his focus to what he could control,
Okay.
which is his actions in the present moment.
So instead of dwelling on the past,
Mm-hmm.
he used the countdown to interrupt that thought pattern.
Yeah, like stop,
Okay.
reset,
Yeah.
redirect.
And then put his energy towards something that he could actually do something about.
Exactly. Setting new goals and taking action.
I think that's a really subtle but important point.
It is.
It's not about like,
It's not about denial.
yeah, not denying your feeling.
It's about using the 5-second rule as a bridge
Okay.
between feeling and doing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And this kind of reminds me of the Rosa Parks example that she talks about.
Oh, yeah?
Her decision not to give up her seat on the bus wasn't some like premeditated act of defiance.
No, it was instinct.
It was just like an instinct.
It was like this moment of like
Yeah.
injustice, and she just
acted.
acted.
And so I think that's what's interesting here is that it's not like this.
Courage isn't this superhuman trait.
Yeah.
It's something we all have. And that 5-second rule helps us tap into it.
By acting before we can overthink it.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we apply this in our own lives?
So it's about recognizing the smaller everyday moments
Okay.
that require our courage.
Right, because most of us aren't facing situations like Rosa Parks did.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it could be speaking up in a meeting
Okay.
when you have a great idea.
Yeah.
It could be setting a boundary in a relationship.
Mm.
Or finally starting that creative project
Yeah.
you've been putting off.
That's a good one.
These might not seem like life or death situations,
Right.
but they're the building blocks
Okay.
of a courageous life.
So instead of waiting for this big heroic moment,
Right.
it's these small little choices that we make every day.
Those little nudges where
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
I should do this.
Uh-huh.
But then that hesitation starts to creep in.
Yeah.
That's your cue to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and act.
Act. And then the next thing is like the
Yeah.
fear of the fear of failure.
Yeah, because I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
And she really digs into this with the story of her daughter, Kendall,
Bro.
who was struggling with auditioning for a musical.
And she was like super afraid of not being good enough.
Yeah, the fear of rejection
Yeah.
was just paralyzing.
And she almost didn't even try.
She almost didn't even audition.
Yeah.
And this is where she introduces the so what question
Okay.
as a way to reframe.
Yeah. Break that down for me, because how does asking so what help?
Okay, so it's about shifting our perspective
Okay.
from avoiding failure
Mm-hmm.
to embracing the possibility of it.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, what if I do this and I fail?
Yeah.
So what? Like,
Yeah.
what's the worst that can happen?
Okay.
You know, we're so afraid of failing
Yeah.
that we don't even try.
We don't even try.
But even if we fail,
Yeah.
we'll learn something from the experience.
Right.
And like, she points out so many wildly successful people.
It sucked at first.
Oh, yeah.
Like J.K. Rowling,
Yeah.
rejected by multiple publishers.
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran,
Yeah.
busking in parks.
Right.
The creators of Broad City
Yeah.
started with scrappy YouTube videos.
And they were terrible, probably.
Probably right.
But they just kept going.
But they kept going.
Yeah.
And that's what led to their success.
I think we look at people who are really successful and we just think, yeah, they just magically got there.
The highlight reel.
Yeah,
It's like Instagram.
totally.
We just see the end product.
Yeah.
And we don't see the blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, the failures.
The failures, yeah.
And so it's their willingness to keep going.
Despite the fear
Yeah.
that led to their success.
And this brings us to the next point, right?
Yeah.
Embracing the possibility of sucking
Embracing the sun.
allows us to detach from the outcome
Yes.
and focus on the process.
The process.
Yeah. And so many people get caught up in
Oh my gosh.
like, oh, if I don't.
What if it's not perfect? What if people don't like it?
Yeah, what if it's not the right thing?
Yeah.
And it's like,
It takes the pressure off.
yeah,
Needing to be perfect.
right.
Right out of the gate.
It's just show up,
Show up.
do the thing,
Do the work.
and you might suck.
And you might suck.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's part of the process.
And this leads us to another point, right?
Okay.
Which is that we don't always make decisions based on logic.
We do not.
We let our feelings
Our feelings
dictate our actions.
take over.
Yeah, and even when those feelings aren't serving us.
Right. And this is where the 5-second rule becomes this incredible tool
Okay.
for bridging the gap
Mhm.
between our emotions and
Yeah.
our actions.
Yeah.
So think about it.
Okay.
How many times
All the time.
have you known you should do something,
Oh my gosh.
but you just don't feel like it?
I'm the queen of I'll do it later,
Oh, yeah.
which turns into I'll do it never.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
But that 5-second rule
Yeah.
gives us a way to interrupt that pattern,
Yeah.
to act despite our feelings.
It's like telling your feelings, thanks for sharing,
Exactly.
but I'm doing this anyway.
I'm doing this anyway.
Yeah. And that brings us back to like,
Yeah.
you know, we don't have to be at the mercy of our emotions.
Exactly.
We can choose to act.
In alignment with our goals.
Yes.
Even when it feels hard.
Yeah. And she talks about professional athletes.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
don't let,
They don't let fatigue dictate their performance.
no, they show up and they do the work.
They do the work.
Yeah.
And they trust that the results will follow.
Yeah. It's like building mental fitness.
It is mental fitness.
Yeah.
You're training yourself to show up.
When your body and your mind are telling you to
Right.
stay on the couch.
Stay on the couch, stay in bed.
And she even talks about Lin-Manuel Miranda,
Oh, yeah.
the creator of Hamilton,
Right.
who struggled with self-doubt.
While writing the musical,
Yeah.
he didn't let those feelings stop him.
So even Lin-Manuel Miranda gets imposter syndrome.
He's human.
Right.
He's human.
So it's a good reminder that, like, we're all human.
Right. You?
And those feelings are normal.
Totally.
But it's not letting them paralyze us.
Exactly.
And so the 5-second rule.
It's like this little mental trick
Yeah.
to outsmart those feelings.
Yeah. And take action anyway.
Take action.
But what about procrastination?
Procrastination.
I feel like that's a whole other beast.
That's actually where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because she reframes procrastination.
Okay.
And says that there are two types,
Okay.
destructive and productive.
Okay.
Like the kind that leads to missed deadlines and stress.
Yeah.
And then the kind that actually fuels creativity.
Wait, so procrastination can be productive?
It can be productive.
I need to hear more about this.
So think of it like this.
Okay.
Sometimes
Yeah.
we need to step away
Uh-huh.
from a problem
Okay.
or project
Yeah.
to let our subconscious mind work its magic.
So it's not always about,
Not always about forcing ourselves to be productive.
yeah, like constantly nose to the grindstone.
Right. Sometimes letting things simmer
Yeah.
can lead to better results.
That's interesting.
It is.
So, but then there's that other procrastination.
Right, the destructive kind.
The one that just makes us feel stressed and behind.
Exactly.
So how do we tell the difference?
That's a great question. And that is exactly what we're going to explore
Okay.
in part 2.
I'm already hooked.
We're going to dig into
Yeah.
her strategies for managing both types,
Okay.
creating a morning routine
Yes.
that sets you up for success,
Okay, I can't wait.
and so much more.
All right, we'll be back for part 2.
Stay tuned.
Okay.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the 5-second rule.
I'm ready to dig in.
Okay, so in part 1,
Yeah.
we were talking about, how our brains work against us.
Right, like all that hesitation.
Yeah, and how we can reframe the fear of failure.
Uh-huh. And that whole idea of productive procrastination.
Yeah, which I know we kind of blew your mind a little bit,
It did kind of blow my mind.
but we need to talk about the other side of that.
Yeah, that destructive kind.
Yeah, the kind that leaves us feeling overwhelmed and behind.
The guilt and the shame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Robbins suggests that you view procrastination as a symptom,
Okay.
not the disease itself.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's often a coping mechanism for underlying stress or anxiety.
So, like, it's our brain trying to protect us
Exactly.
from being uncomfortable.
Even if it ends up making things worse in the long run.
So it's not just laziness.
And not necessarily.
It's more like,
What's more complex than that?
okay, so how do we know which kind we're dealing with?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
If you're putting something off and you're feeling energized by the other things you're doing instead,
Okay.
maybe your ideas are percolating productively.
Okay.
But if you're delaying something and feeling increasingly stressed or guilty,
Oh, yeah.
that's your cue to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Just do it.
and break the cycle.
So what if I'm feeling that tightness in my chest about a presentation I have next week?
I've been there.
I know I should be working on it,
Mm-hmm.
but I keep putting it off.
Right. And that just creates more stress.
Totally.
So in that moment,
Okay.
instead of getting bogged down by the enormity of the task,
Yeah, it feels so big and scary.
break it down
Okay.
into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Like little baby steps.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And then when you feel that resistance kicking in,
Mm-hmm.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
Okay.
and commit to just 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes of focused work.
That seems almost too easy.
That's the beauty of it.
Okay.
You're tricking your brain into getting started.
Like a little mind game.
Exactly.
Okay.
And often once you get over that initial hump,
Yeah.
the momentum builds naturally.
Oh, that's so true. And even 5 minutes is better than nothing.
It is way better than 0.
It's like going to the gym.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I just tell myself, I'm just going to go for 10 minutes. And then suddenly I'm on the treadmill for an hour.
Exactly. And speaking of tricking your brain,
Yeah.
remember the future you technique.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
So visualize yourself
Okay.
having already nailed that presentation,
Yeah.
feeling confident and accomplished.
I love that.
Ask yourself, what would the future you,
Yeah.
the one who's already achieved this,
Okay.
do right
But
now?
that's such a shift in perspective.
It is.
Instead of focusing on like the fear of messing up,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like picturing the feeling of success.
Yeah.
Which is way more motivating.
It's about tapping into that energy
Right.
and clarity of your future self
Yeah.
to guide your present actions.
And you can use that for anything.
For anything.
Finishing a report.
Having that difficult conversation,
Booking that trip you've been dreaming of.
whatever it is,
It's like bringing that future self.
into the present moment.
Yeah, I love it.
Or it's powerful.
Okay, so Robbins is also a big fan of morning routines.
Oh, yeah. She's all about those morning
Yeah.
routines.
Yeah, and she even breaks down her own in detail.
She does. But it's not about adopting her routine verbatim.
Okay.
It's more about understanding the principles behind it.
Okay.
She emphasizes starting your day with intention,
Okay.
like reclaiming those precious morning hours
Yeah.
before the world starts demanding your attention.
Oh, okay, so I've always struggled with morning routines.
It's a common struggle.
Yeah, I'm a snooze button hitter.
Oh, yeah.
And then I scramble to get ready while scrolling through emails and social media.
So it's like information overload.
It's not exactly a recipe for a productive start to my day.
Not exactly.
No, it's more like a recipe for stress.
And that's that habit loop
Yeah.
that Robbins is trying to help us break.
So what's the first step?
She talks about eliminating phone distractions
Okay.
first thing in the morning.
So like not even looking at it.
Instead of reaching for your phone,
Yeah.
take those first few moments
Okay.
to connect with yourself.
So like maybe meditate.
Maybe meditate.
Stretch a little bit. Just sit and enjoy my coffee.
Enjoy your coffee in silence.
In silence. Yeah, that sounds so simple.
It is simple.
But I feel the resistance already.
Oh, I know it's hard.
Like, what if I miss an important email?
You're not banning your phone for life.
Okay.
It's just about reclaiming those first moments
Okay, that makes sense.
for yourself.
So no phone. What else?
So another key principle is maximizing those peak productivity hours,
Okay.
which are often the first few hours after we wake up.
Oh, interesting.
This is when we tend to have the most focus and energy.
Okay.
So it's the ideal time to tackle those tasks
Okay.
that require deep thinking or creativity.
So, like, instead of checking email, I should be working on my most important tasks.
Exactly. Front load your day
Okay.
with the stuff that really moves the needle
Okay.
before those distractions start creeping in.
Okay, so maybe I should be writing in the mornings.
It could be writing. It could be working on a proposal.
Okay.
Whatever it is that requires your best brain power.
And then save the emails and the meetings for later.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is making me rethink my entire schedule.
It's a game changer.
What about exercise? I'm more of a night owl when it comes to working out.
You know, Robbins is a big advocate for incorporating movement
Okay.
into your morning routine.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be a full-blown workout.
Okay.
Even just like a 15-minute walk.
Okay.
Some yoga stretches.
Yeah.
A quick dance session.
Okay, I can do that.
Anything to get your blood flowing
Yeah.
and energize your mind and body.
I'm seeing a theme here.
Oh, yeah.
Small, consistent actions can lead to big results.
That's it.
It's not about overhauling my entire life overnight.
It's not about perfection.
Yeah, it's about those baby steps.
It's about progress.
Yeah.
And this applies to everything we've been discussing.
Mm-hmm.
Overcoming procrastination.
Yeah.
Building confidence.
Yeah.
Strengthening relationships.
It's those little 5-second decisions
Not add up.
to a life that feels more aligned. Okay, so Robbins talks a lot about confidence.
She does.
But isn't that something you're kind of born with or you're not?
That's a common misconception.
Okay.
She argues that true confidence is built through action.
Oh, interesting.
It's about those moments when we push past our comfort zones
Okay.
and prove to ourselves that we're capable of more than we thought.
So it's not this innate trait.
Not necessarily.
It's about taking those courageous steps
Exactly.
that build self-belief over time.
Like, remember that story about those engineers at Cisco Systems
Oh, yeah?
who she challenged to introduce themselves to strangers?
Using the 5-second rule.
Yes.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Okay.
What feels more confidence boosting?
Okay.
Sitting on the sidelines,
Yeah.
wishing you were more outgoing,
Uh-huh.
or actually putting yourself out there
Yeah.
and having those conversations,
Even if it feels awkward.
even if it feels awkward.
My introverted self is cringing a little bit.
I get it. It's a challenge.
But I get your point.
But the more you practice, the easier it gets.
Yeah. And the more confident you become.
Exactly. It's like
Yeah.
a muscle.
Yeah.
You have to exercise it.
And Robbins also says that we shouldn't compare ourselves to others.
Right. Everyone's on their own unique journey.
It's so easy to fall into that trap.
It is.
Yeah.
Especially in the age of social media.
Yeah. It's like everyone's highlight reel.
Exactly.
It's hard to remember that everyone has their own struggles.
And their own insecurities.
Even those people who seem to have it all figured out.
Even them.
Yeah.
So focus on your own progress.
Yeah.
No matter how small those steps might seem.
And celebrate your wins.
Celebrate those wins.
Yeah.
No matter how small.
Yeah, I love that.
Every step forward is a victory.
And this reminds me of what we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
separating our feelings from our actions.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
Because we often make decisions based on how we feel.
Even when those emotions aren't serving us.
Right. It's like we give our feelings too much power.
We do. We let
Okay.
them dictate our behavior.
But Robbins reminds us that we can choose to act in
Mhm.
alignment with our goals.
Even when it feels hard.
Even when every fiber of our being is screaming,
Stay on the couch.
stay on the couch. Yes.
Stay in your comfort zone.
I've definitely experienced this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've talked myself out of doing things
Mhm.
because I felt scared or uncertain.
It's so common.
But the times when I've pushed past those feelings
Yes.
and taken action anyway,
Uh-huh.
those are the moments that have led to the most growth.
The most growth and the most fulfillment.
Yeah.
And that's what she's getting at.
Yeah.
Courage isn't the absence of fear.
It's acting in spite of it.
It's acting despite it.
Yeah.
Think about those professional athletes again.
Okay.
They don't wait to feel motivated or confident
Right.
before they train.
They just show up,
They show up and they do the work.
do the work.
And they trust that the results will follow.
It's like they have that faith.
They do.
I'm starting to see how all these concepts tie together. The 5-second rule, everyday courage,
Building confidence.
managing our emotions.
It's all connected.
It's recognizing that we have more agency than we realize.
We do. We have the power to choose.
And we can choose to interrupt those old patterns.
Of hesitation and self-doubt.
Yeah.
And create new ones.
That are more empowering.
Exactly.
I love that.
It's about reclaiming your power.
Yeah.
Taking ownership of your life.
And creating a life that feels authentic.
And fulfilling.
This has been so insightful.
It has.
I feel like I'm starting to see the world through a new lens,
I love that.
where hesitation is met with a countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And fear is just a cue to take action.
That's the magic of the 5-second rule.
It's a simple tool.
But its impact can be profound.
And we're not done yet.
No, we're not.
Okay, in part 3.
We're going to explore Robbins' insights on deepening our relationships,
Okay.
finding our passions,
Yes.
and living a life that feels truly meaningful.
I can't wait.
Stay tuned.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Mel Robbins' The 5-Second Rule.
We are.
In parts 1 and 2, we talked about procrastination, morning routines, confidence,
Right.
courage,
Yeah.
even the neuroscience behind why this rule works.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's talk about how we can use the 5-second rule to really level up our relationships
Yeah.
and really tap into what she calls our inner true self.
So this is where it gets even more interesting.
Yeah.
Robbins argues that the courage that we cultivate through the 5-second rule isn't just about achieving our goals.
Okay.
It's about showing up more fully in our lives,
Okay.
especially in our relationships.
And that's something that I've struggled with a lot.
Yeah.
I know I've definitely let fear hold me back in relationships.
Oh, yeah, it's so common.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Whether it's being hesitant to express my feelings or
Yeah.
avoiding those difficult conversations
Right.
because they're uncomfortable.
Right. And so she encourages us to be more intentional, to use the 5-second rule to bridge that gap
Yeah.
between wanting to connect and actually taking action.
Yeah.
And she shares a story about this.
Okay.
She was facing a really challenging situation with her dad.
Oh,
Her
great.
dad needed brain surgery.
Oh.
And she was terrified
Yeah.
to talk to him about it.
About his hopes and fears. And
Yeah, like how was he feeling about it?
Yeah.
Like what was going on?
What did he want?
Yeah. And I can imagine how difficult that would be.
Oh, yeah. It would be so much easier to avoid that.
Right, to just kind of like sweep it under the rug.
I pretend it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she used the 5-second rule
Okay.
to push past her fear.
And initiate that conversation.
And she says that it was one of the most meaningful conversations
Wow.
they'd ever had.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it strengthened their bond
Uh-huh.
and allowed them to face those challenges ahead
Yeah.
with more understanding and support.
And so it's not just about achieving our goals.
Right.
It's about enriching our lives through these connections with people.
Mm-hmm.
And Robbins also talks about how we can apply the 5-second rule
Okay.
to those everyday moments of connection.
Like the small stuff.
Yeah, because I know I'm really guilty of this.
We all are.
Yeah.
Like how many times are we physically present with our loved ones,
Mm-hmm.
but mentally we're checked out.
Yes.
We're on our phones.
Totally.
We're distracted.
Yeah.
So the next time you find yourself in that situation,
Okay.
use the 5-second rule to put your phone down,
Okay.
turn off the TV,
Mm-hmm.
and really engage.
With the person in front of me.
Yeah, look them in the eye.
Yeah, ask them about their day.
Ask them how they're doing.
Yeah, really. Listen.
Listen with your full attention.
Yeah, be present.
Yeah,
Be present.
be present.
Yeah, I love that.
It's so simple.
Yeah, but it's so important.
It is.
Yeah, and I think this also applies to, like, expressing our feelings
yeah.
to our loved ones.
Yeah. Whether it's telling them how much they mean to us.
Yeah.
Or apologizing when we've messed up.
Yeah, because there's always that fear of being vulnerable.
Of being judged.
Of being rejected.
And what if they don't reciprocate?
Yeah, but the potential reward is so much greater.
It is.
Yeah.
Than the risk.
Yeah.
So just go for it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Say it.
Yeah, tell them how you feel.
Yeah.
And Robbins also talks about the importance of connecting with our own inner truth.
Oh, yeah.
Which she calls our inner true self. And she believes that so many of us have lost touch with that part of ourselves.
We have.
Yeah, due to societal expectations.
Past experiences.
Fears, the fear of not being good enough.
All right.
And she suggests that our passions are a gateway to discovering our inner true self.
Yeah.
So she encourages us to explore those things that make us feel alive.
Like what lights you up?
Yeah, what are we curious about?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like for me, it's like sustainable living.
Okay.
Or I get really envious of people who are traveling. So those are like little whispers
They are.
of my soul.
Yeah.
Telling me what it wants.
Your inner true self is trying to get your attention.
Yeah, and so she encourages us to use the 5-second rule to explore those interests.
Even if it feels scary.
Yeah, or unconventional, or like it doesn't make sense.
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
It's my life.
Exactly.
Remember Joe, the banker who took the pottery class?
Oh, yeah, Jen.
Yeah, and then opened up her own shop.
On a whim?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And it's never too late, right?
Never too late.
You have to find a new passion.
Never too late to start over.
To create a life that really feels aligned.
Yeah.
And those passions can evolve over time, too.
They do.
Yeah. What you were passionate about 10 years ago
totally different.
Might not be the same thing that you're into now.
Right.
Yeah, and that's okay.
It's okay to change.
Yeah.
To grow.
And Robbins encourages us to view life as an ongoing journey.
Yeah.
Of self-discovery.
Be curious.
Be curious.
Embrace the unknown.
Yes.
Even if it's scary.
Even if it's scary.
Yeah, and she also reminds us that our true self is not just about our passions.
Okay.
It's about our values.
Our beliefs. The way we want to show up in the world.
Yes.
It's about identifying what's truly important to us.
Yeah.
And using the 5-second rule to align our actions with those values.
So for me, one of my core values is kindness.
Okay.
So maybe it's volunteering my time.
Yeah.
Reaching out to a friend who's having a hard time. Just being more patient.
Practicing compassion.
Yeah.
In those daily interactions.
Those little things.
The little things add up.
Yeah. It's not about being perfect.
It's about being intentional.
Yeah. It's about progress.
It's about progress, not perfection.
So this has been such an incredible journey.
It had exploring all these different aspects of the 5-second rule.
Yeah. It's such a simple concept.
Yeah.
But it can have such a profound impact.
And how we can use it to create this more courageous, fulfilling life.
A life that's aligned with who you truly are.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway?
The one key takeaway.
Yeah, that you want listeners to really remember.
I think it's that we all have this incredible power within us.
Yeah.
To create change.
Yeah.
We often wait for permission or the perfect moment or for someone else to show us the way.
Yeah.
But the only permission we need
is our own.
Yeah. The 5-second rule is simply a tool to help us tap into that power and start living a life that feels true to ourselves.
So what's that one thing
that
you've been putting off?
That one dream you've been hesitant to pursue.
That one conversation you've been avoiding.
Take a deep breath. 4,
2,
1.
Go. That's it for our deep dive into the 5-second rule.
It is.
We hope you found these insights valuable.
Yeah.
And that you're feeling inspired to take action.
Create some positive change.
Remember, the power is within you.
We believe in you.